Jai Gurudev. Once again back to today's session, and you all know that we are with solutions talking about colligative properties, and to study more about that I should know Raoult's law, and for this we understood Dalton's laws, Henry's laws, and then we are going ahead. And in that process, yesterday I said Raoult's law for a solution containing non-volatile solute, Raoult's law for both the components in the binary solution, both volatile, that is Raoult's law for solution containing volatile solute and solvent, Raoult's law for a solution containing non-volatile solute. Now, if you have remembered all that, now I have a graph in front of me. The moment I look at the graph, this graph represents out of those two Raoult's laws, for which one this is the representation. No doubt, I am sure that all of you will certainly recall that it is a graphical representation when both the solute and solvent are volatile. Why? A, its vapor pressure, B, its vapor pressure, because on y-axis we have vapor pressure, on x-axis we have mole fractions. Clear? Yes. Now, when I look at this, then I understand B is less volatile than A. Clear? Now, while discussing about that, yesterday I had said ideal solution, non-ideal solution. What is ideal solution? When the expected total pressure of the solution expected is as expected. Clear? Expected is as, or observed is as expected, then it is ideal solution. So, to find out whether the solution that I have is an ideal solution or not, I need not prepare a solution, then see whether the total pressure is as expected, then see. There is another way to find out, or which two substances when mixed up I am likely to get an ideal solution. There is a different way. Here we have two components A and B together. When A and B together, or when A and B mix up, when A and B mix up, what are likely to happen? Volume of the solution is going to increase. There may be interactions, there may be repulsions. Because of attractions and repulsions, there will be energy changes. So, when I mix up these two, A and B, when I observe no change in enthalpy, last year studied in thermodynamics, delta H, change in enthalpy. Here, enthalpy of mixing, two are mixed, no change in enthalpy. If no change in enthalpy, or if enthalpy of mixing is 0, that means there are no attractions, no repulsions, and change in enthalpy is 0. And what may further happen is, when A and B mix up, sometimes volume may decrease, volume may increase. But if I have to get a ideal solution, when those two are mixed up, delta V also should be 0. So, when A and B mix up, if delta V is 0, delta H is 0, that is most likely to be an ideal solution. But most of the time, there will be attractive repulsive forces, delta H value will be different, volume changes will be there, so there will be non-ideal solutions. And further we had understood deviations from ideality, positive deviation, negative deviation. Yesterday only we have discussed about that. If you have any doubt, just go back to yesterday's video, you will understand. Now we will go further. Now I have two components A and B present in that. At a given composition, I have A and B together. Now when I have both of them volatile together, and if I want to separate, how to separate? There are different methods which you have understood. Distillation. In that again we have studied simple distillation, fractional distillation, all that. Now let us concentrate only on simple distillation. By simple distillation method, I want to separate A and B present in that composition. If I want to separate in that composition, which one will come out first? Which one will come out first when you have a composition of two volatile components? The one which is more volatile will come out first. The one which is more volatile will come out first. And afterwards, you will be left out with the less volatile. Easy to separate. But now the question is, can I completely separate A and B present in the mixture? I can separate, but can I completely separate both the components? Suppose you had added 20 grams of B with 80 grams of. So now finally I want my separate 80 grams and 20 grams of A and B. If I want that, will I achieve it or not? That's what I have to see. So now, if more volatile component is A, if it comes out, what will happen to the mixture? If A comes out, what will happen to the mixture? A amount decreases. In the beginning I get A, B is not coming out. So as A comes out from the mixture, what will happen to the pressure contribution of A to the total vapor pressure? So as A comes out in the process of distillation, its composition goes on decreasing. As its composition goes on decreasing, at one particular, that means at one particular time, or this composition goes on changing. As this composition changes, then at one particular composition you will reach to that situation. When you reach to that situation, what is the vapor pressure of A at that composition? What is the vapor pressure contribution of B? That means both are equal. So now once you reach to this composition, will A come out or will B come out? Will A come out or will B come out? Earlier we had, yes, the more volatile comes out, less volatile will remain. But as you go on removing A, finally the composition goes on changing and it will reach to that particular composition. Once it reaches to that composition, when you do the distillation, what that which I am doing is, whatever I have on one side, I am just shifting to the other side. In the beginning, from the mixture, I am removing only A. But as A gets removed, composition changes. And once it reaches to that composition, what is that which is happening, which is going to happen? You are thinking that you are doing distillation and you are doing separation. But what is that which is coming out from that composition? Both will be coming out the other side. You are just shifting. That means your composition has changed to a mixture wherein components cannot be separated. That means there is a mixture. So when A and B are present in a particular composition, A and B are there, but afterwards you can't separate them. So there is a name for that substance. There is a name for that composition. That is, what is an azeotrope? Azeotrope is a mixture wherein the compositions of both are which are going to contribute same amount to the total vapor pressure on the surface of the liquid solution. So that means if the vapor pressure on the surface of the liquid solution remains same because of both the components are contributing together. And again, if I recall, what is boiling point? Boiling point is the temperature at which vapor pressure of the liquid, yes, vapor pressure of the liquid, one component. Here two components, vapor pressure of both the components together is equal to atmospheric pressure. So a temperature at which the total vapor pressure of both together, once it becomes equal to atmospheric pressure, boiling will take place. That means once you have this mixture, boiling point will remain same. That means you start with a mixture and then a component gets removed and after it turns to a particular mixture where two components cannot be separated. That is an azeotrope, and that azeotrope will have a constant boiling point. So azeotrope is a constant boiling mixture. So what is that which we have to understand from this? Once I have two volatile components present together, complete separation of them into pure substances is not possible. Initially you may get two substances separated, but afterwards it will turn to a constant boiling mixture. You can't. Say for example, I have alcohol and water together, and I want all the alcohol that is mixed in that, and you know alcohol is more volatile than water. So now if I want alcohol and water to completely separate, I can go on removing alcohol. Up to 95% I can remove. Last 5% will remain. Afterwards, whatever alcohol is left in that, I have to forget it. Because if I take that last small amount which is remaining, from that if I want to separate, not possible, because it has turned to a azeotrope, constant boiling mixture. Right? Now, yesterday we had further understood positive deviation, negative deviation. When positive deviation? When between A and B repulsions are there. Observed vapor pressure will be more than expected pressure. Same way, deviation, negative deviation. When negative deviation? If the attractive forces between A and B are stronger, you will not get, or the observed total vapor pressure will be less because of the attractive forces. So that means the deviation is because of either attractive forces or repulsive forces. So now if I have repulsions between A and B, this is the graph that we had drawn. Because of the repulsions, more amount of A will go into the vapor state, more amount of B will go into the vapor state. That is, then there is positive deviation. Negative deviation observed will be less than because of the attractions. Now if I have A and B together mixed, if I want to separate both the components, the solution that I am going to have, total vapor pressure is more than expected because of the repulsions between them. That means vapor pressure on the surface is already more. So that means it becomes easy for that vapor pressure to become equal to atmospheric pressure. So if it becomes easy for the total vapor pressure to become equal to atmospheric pressure, now tell me whether it will happen at a higher temperature or lower temperature. It will happen at a lower temperature. So that means the mixture which is going to have components with repulsions will have a lower boiling point than expected. Why? Positive deviation. Then I say it is a lower boiling mixture, and if negative deviation is there, total vapor pressure will be less. If this total vapor pressure is to become equal to atmospheric pressure, that means I have to go to a higher temperature. So that means because of the attractive forces that are present, that mixture will not boil at a particular temperature. It will boil at a lower temperature, at a higher temperature than expected. That means a higher boiling mixture that I am going to have because of the attractive forces. When there is negative deviation from Raoult's law, you are going to have a higher boiling mixture. If there is positive deviation, you are going to have a lower boiling mixture. And one more, when you go on separating the two components, the composition changes. The composition changes, the mixture becomes different. That means for that particular composition, that is the total vapor pressure, that will decide what is the boiling point. So that means for solution means there is no fixed composition of A and B. For example, when you have a binary solution with you, I have a solution, I don't know how much of A, how much of B is present. So I can't tell what is the boiling point of it. So if I can't tell what is the boiling point of what is given to me, boiling point is not constant, then that is the colligative property. Right? Colligative property is that property which depends on the composition of the components. Mixture, homogeneous mixture, solutions don't have. Unlike elements have constant boiling point, melting point, all that. Solution, what will you tell? I don't know the composition. If I know the composition, what is the boiling point I can tell. So, solutions don't have constant physical constants called colligative properties. Clear? Further, yesterday, right, towards the end, we talked about a particular graph and then what it represents. It represents only I am showing one line. About the other component there is no line. That means it is non-volatile solute. So, that means this is the representation for a solution containing non-volatile solute. What has happened to the pressure contribution when non-volatile solute is present? XA, you started with a solvent like water, you started adding glucose, salt, whatever it is. What has happened to that? Finally, there is no more solvent and only solute is present. What is the contribution? No. So, as mole fraction of B increases, vapor pressure contribution decreases, and related to that we talked about what is the lowering in pressure. If P naught A is the vapor pressure of A when A allowed is present, and P small p a is when small amount of solute is present, that shows the decrease. And when you find out to how much it has decreased or from how much it has decreased, this relation will tell me what is the relative lowering in vapor pressure. Relative lowering in vapor pressure, Raoult said, once you know how much is the relative lowering in vapor pressure, it is equal to the mole fraction of the non-volatile solute present. Now, I do not want all that. Now, if I want to find out XB, how to find out XB? I found out relative lowering in vapor pressure. That is, when I have solvent alone, I know the vapor pressure. When I have a small amount of solute and what is the composition, I know the vapor pressure. That will tell me the decrease in the vapor pressure and of course relative lowering. So, once I determine the relative lowering in vapor pressure, that is equal to mole fraction. Now, we will take this ahead. What is XB? Mole fraction of the non-volatile solute present in the solution. Further expand, how did you find XB? XB is number of moles of B present in the total number of moles of the particles present in the solution. Here I have got only two components, A and B. We are talking about only binary systems, right? Where A and B are only the components present, number of moles of B together will give total number of moles, and if you divide number of moles of B with that, you will come to know mole fraction of B. Now, instead of having a very highly concentrated solutions, if I have a very dilute solution, for example, take 1 liter of water, take 1 gram of sodium hydroxide, or take 1 gram of salt, 1 gram of glucose, add to that. I will take 1 liter, no, instead of that I will say in a different way. I will take 1 kg of water, because for this I need number of moles. So, I take 1 kg of water, whatever is the volume I am not worried. Take 1 kg of water, add 1 gram of any soluble component in that, but it is non-volatile. So, when I do that, later if I want to find out what is the mole fraction of that sodium hydroxide, glucose, whatever that is added for that. So, how to find out now what is that mole fraction of sodium hydroxide, for example? How to find out? If I, that is Nb by Na plus Nb. What is Nb? Number of moles of B. Number of moles of B is weight of B, that is weight of NaOH taken. And then what is molar mass of NaOH? That is Nb. Then of course, what is Na? Number of moles of water. Number of moles of water is, again, I know 1000 grams of water I have taken, and molar mass of water is 18 grams, plus Nb, same thing here, right? Here again, how many grams of sodium hydroxide you have taken in a OH, and then what is molar mass of NaOH. Before we go ahead, now give a thought for this. What is that which you have taken? You have taken 1000 grams of it. 18 grams is molar mass of it. How many moles I am going to get? Somewhere other time we had worked out, and it is 55.55 moles it will come. Plus, how many moles of NaOH is going to be present? That you say 1 by 40, because 40 is molar mass of NaOH. So 55.55 plus 1 by 40, if you add, how much difference it is going to make for 55.55? That this value that you are going to add is almost negligible. So in that case, what that which I do, right? Because it is a small amount, I neglect it. But don't say now, here we have neglected, here also we have neglected, then that means we will close the chapter. Right? Purpose is not that. Right? When this is small amount, right, this is negligible, you forget it. Now we will take this further. Weight of sodium hydroxide, molar mass of sodium hydroxide. Suppose you don't know molar mass of sodium hydroxide. Suppose you don't know molar mass of sodium hydroxide. That means I know how many grams of sodium hydroxide I have taken, but only small amount of I have added when it compares to that 1000 grams. This means this I don't know. Right? If I simplify this is negligible, weight of sodium hydroxide, but in a different case it can be unknown substance. Weight of unknown substance that you have added, you know, known. Now if I simplify this, that means what is that which I am going to get? I am going to get molar mass of an unknown substance. I just started with sodium hydroxide to understand, and afterwards I said I don't know molar mass of sodium hydroxide. If I simplify this, am I not getting molar mass of sodium hydroxide? Why I am talking about this? Last year when we talked about purification, characterization, that compounds, all these, first we found what are the elements present in the compound, what are their atomic masses, then afterwards relative number, then afterwards we simplified, we arrived at empirical formula, and after arriving at empirical formula, to arrive at molecular formula, what is that which we did? Molecular mass divided by empirical formula mass. Who will give you that molecular mass? Unless you know how many atoms of each kind are present in one molecule of the substance, I can't tell what is the molecular mass. I only can tell these are the elements that are present, these are the number of atoms present in this ratio, but how many exactly they are present, that I can know only if I know the molecular formula. If I want to know the molecular formula, what I should do? I should know the molecular mass, because molar mass divided by empirical formula mass, then I will get some ratio, then afterwards we multiplied empirical formula, then we arrived at molecular formula. So to arrive at molecular formula, I should know molar mass. Who will give this molar mass? Colligative property will tell me. So prepare a solution, find out their vapor pressures, find out the relative lowering in vapor pressures. Relation is there, XB, calculate, then arrive at molar mass. So that is the use of colligative property. Last year, without knowing how to arrive at molar mass, that molar mass is given, we solve the problem. Now this year, how to arrive at the molar mass, we are arriving. So solutions, properties of solutions, that will help me to arrive at molar mass. Clear? So taking it further, now what else we can do with this? This is one way, that is relative lowering in vapor pressure will help me. But sometimes it is difficult for me to find out vapor pressures, and then afterwards relative, right? So much of calculation, so much of determination is not required. There are other simple ways to arrive at other colligative properties. With the help of other colligative properties, we can easily arrive at molar masses. The intention of this main in this chapter is how to arrive at molar masses. How to arrive at molar masses. Colligative properties will help. This is the way. Right? We'll go ahead with some other colligative properties. With the help of those colligative properties, again, how to go to molar mass. So once we go to, or once we come to know what is molar mass, then of course all that I can write molecular formula of the substance. Once I know molecular formula of the substance, it becomes easy to find out molar mass. I need not do this experiment. So once I have molecular formula of a substance, anytime I can find out molar mass of it. Now if a substance is given and if I want to know molar mass, don't tell, sir, I will go study its colligative properties, then afterwards I will do this calculation and then afterwards I will come back. Then I know the molar mass. No need. So for that, if I want to have an exact molecular formula, this I should know first. So molecular formulas are arrived with the help of this. Right? We will see the other colligative properties and we will go ahead.